Hello, everybody. My name is Jamie Nelson. I'm Associate Director of Educational Innovation at the Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning. And I'm your host. I'm going to introduce our speakers for today. Welcome to AI Horizons. It's our series. We've kind of rebranded, but it's where we're sharing what we know about AI to the community. We'll share what they know, and we have discussions and that kind of thing. Oops. The title of today's presentation is Beyond the Bot, Using AI for More Than Just Chatting. So this is part of the innovation team at the Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning. They work with me. Welcome, guys, ladies. So I'm super excited to hear from you. Later, I just want to mention, it's in these guys' court, but we do also have our copyright person here in-house, Andrew Zhang. Okay. Yeah, is here too. So later, if there's questions about copyright, that's just kind of a side thing. And just so you know that he exists on campus too. If you're like, hey, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? There's somebody to ask for that. But I'm going to hand it off to Yuri. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Hello, all you out there in Zoom land. I'm Yuri Burkovich. I am the Senior Assistant Director of Research and Development at the Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning. This is my team over here. We have Mitch Kage, Aaron Kreutz, and we're going to show you some of the things that we've already started building. It's a very brand new team, technically only really official since Saturday, I guess. We've been kind of doing stuff before that, but yeah, so hopefully we can do some things to help you all out and give you some ideas as we show you some of the things that we've already been working on. So Erin is going to start with what she has been working on. Please take the.
Yep. Thanks so much. Hey guys, thanks for coming today. It's nice to meet you. If I haven't already, I've met some of you already. So I'm gonna switch over to show a couple of interactions I have made. Let me go ahead and start with the LNI Builder. And all right, so I've been doing instructional design here for a while now, and now I'm a solution consultant working with technology to create some educational solutions. So this was a request from AHS, but others as well, and it was also something I wanted to use for myself. I've worked on the eText platform for a couple of years here at the University of Illinois, which is our own homegrown sort of way of presenting digital texts. And one of the ways that I was incorporating interaction was with Lumi and H5P, which some of you might be familiar with. But I found that it was sometimes inconvenient. There's not necessarily a lot of support for the Lumi platform anymore. It can take time to get things to be fixed. And also you need to save the file for an interactive object after you create it in two different formats because you need to be able to go back and edit it through the Lumi editor. And it was just really unwieldy and difficult. And also I didn't have a lot of control over how the objects are being built. So this is a way to build educational objects of different kinds, such as a timeline. If I wanted to talk about in the feminism in the 1900s, I could do that. And again, this is not finished. It's still something I'm developing. So a lot of these are just going to be placeholders, but I would be able to add images and text. What do I want to say? I don't know.
So we can't go to that site that you're showing.
This one?
Yeah.
Not yet. My goal is to make this available to everybody, and it's going to be native, and I'll show you that in a second. It's going to be in Canvas. So my idea is that once this is ready, there'll be a cloud repository in Canvas. You'll be able to go in and load any object you want that someone else has created and has consented to share only. You'll also be able to, and so you'll be able to import objects eventually from online, and you'll also be able to go ahead and save So eventually you'll be able to, if you choose, you can save it to the university cloud library, or you can just have it be something that you can access yourself. Right now, as I'm working on it, I can just go ahead and download it as just the raw code. But again, I'm aiming to get this all up online so that everything's saved for you. You don't even have to worry about the files yourself. It'll just do everything for you. So that's basically where we're moving towards. It'll be able to interact with the gradebook as well. So if you wanted to create some of these learning objects, there are quizzes, for example, or even a branching scenario, you'll be able to give students credit based on their choices, based on their completion. As you can see, it shows you in real time what you're developing. I could say to get a completion grade, please proceed through the branching scenario. And then with video and images and text, we can go through a little interactive game, a typical branching scenario journey. There's lots of other, like this is an image pairing interaction I'm working on. I think I'm up to like 33 or 34 different kinds of interactions. Crossword puzzle you can build. These are all fully accessible. It's important for me to, as you can see, I've got a whole accessibility portion that's fully accessible. And my next stage of this, which I've already developed some for, but I didn't want to load for today, is AI integration. So it can upload your materials and can help you to walk through the stage of developing something from your own course materials instead of using the builder directly. So that's going to be the next stage of development for the Illini builder. This is still version 3.2, but there are some newer versions as well. Let's see. I just don't know if I want to show you what looks interesting, like image hotspots. I don't know if you've worked with those. That's any image you want. You can show a diagram of the brain or of the circulatory system. This is something called the Agamotto, which is if I wanted to show, this is what flooding, I don't have it loaded here. I just have some place savers, but if you wanted to show like what does this lowland look like when it's dry and then when it's flooded, and show the progression of time or the progression of a process, I can create that. Virtual tours in a 360 environment, advent calendars, summary challenges, simple things like fill in the blank, Cornell notes. So there's lots of different things. And also I'll talk about this later, but if you want to reach out to us, I'm also open to suggestions for kinds of things that can be developed. So I don't want to keep doing this because I'm going to take up all the time again, and I have a really bad habit of doing that. So let me move on to another project that I developed. This was with Dr. Shelley Johnson, who teaches HK 522 Health Finance. And I'm going to go ahead and open that and kind of show you this, and also a recording, because this does take a lot of time. Now, so Shelley wanted to work on budgeting, a finance budgeting course for her healthcare course, and was looking for something that was a little bit more engaging than just a scenario where students had to read through plain text. And her idea, and she came up with this whole scenario and the personas. Her idea was to be able to actually complete a simulation of the full process of a healthcare budget. I'm really bad at this because I guess I'm really bad at making a budget for a healthcare center. But the idea of this is that you start off with the Riverbend Health Center, and the budget has been cut. So you lose the $75,000 grant that funded the community health workers and transportation vouchers, and have to go back to zero-based budgeting, ZBB, which means that you have to justify every expense line item starting from scratch. So you start off by getting this letter from Jordan Patel, the CFO. And again, Shelley came up with all the people and wrote the personas for this. You move into the budgeting wizard, and this is the part I'm bad at because it's really hard with the limited budget to meet the equity needs of the center you're working for. So, I would go through, and again, I'll show you a pre-record because it takes a while to do this correctly, and I'm not great at it. And you have to decide, how many doctors do you want to hire? How many nurses? You do get penalties. We try to make it somewhat realistic. There are penalties if you have too few people working, even though you don't have the money. So it's very stressful. And then one way to do it is to raise money through spending money on the marketing budget and getting new visits. This is one version of it we're actually developing. This has already been deployed in a grad class, and we're going to be deploying another version of this. So this one has some guardrails. You can see that in this case, we decided the operational efficiency would be reduced if you didn't hire enough nurses, for example. But this is a very gentle scenario guardrail. My first development of the simulation was actually a lot harder and more stressful to go through. So this does allow the students, for our purposes, to go in somewhat gently. It doesn't penalize you too much for not having all the people you need. And we also talked about, and we went through actually many iterations of this, but we talked about being able to negotiate down the supply costs, trying to secure a new grant. And in this case, as you can see, I sucked, even though I cut a bunch of people. I still missed my target, so the CFO would yell at me. But I will show you a recording of another session that I did, although they were still not happy with me. But so before we proceed to the meat of the simulation, you can go through the stakeholder dossiers before you talk to the stakeholders. It gives you just a little bit of information about basically how to complete the scenario, who each person is. So we have the chief financial officer, Jordan. He's looking for a 10% margin. And, you need to meet his objectives in order to pass that stage of the simulation. You have to justify each FTE, no fluff, negotiation strategies, what he's looking for. Maria, the lead community health worker. And so basically the Jordan's looking for the hard numbers, and the other three are looking at equity and service in some ways, especially Samuel, who's a board member for the community representative, is going to be looking for some of those fluff. They're not actually, but what you might say is a fluff service. So he is not going to like if you cut some of the equity services. When you move it to the next round, there's a full simulation with 4 different personas, and they're in the next 2 rounds. So they're all simulated people of Jordan, Maria, Aisha, and Samuel. And I'm going to try right now to show you, I hope I have my volume turned up. So what I'm going to try to do is show you one of my negotiation rounds where I did cut a bunch of people. I kind of tend to do that because it's the easiest way to, what am I going to say? It's the easiest way to pass the simulation. So, hello, Jordan. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Ready to dig into the budget you put together? And I must say, I'm pleased to see it showing a positive net income. However, reviewing some of the specific cuts, like the front desk and support staff, does raise some concerns about operational stability. Can you talk me through how you plan to manage that?
We're facing critical budget shortfalls, so I'm not sure how to reduce our expenses. Do you have any recommendations aside from cutting staff?
I understand the pressure you're under. Instead of cutting so much staff, perhaps we look at optimizing workflow efficiency or renegotiating vendor contracts. I'm just worried about the operational risks with zero front desk support. That could really hurt our revenue cycle. Have you thought about alternatives to those specific cuts?
I have. I will attempt implementing some of those. Thank you so much for your help and your advice.
Of course, I'm glad I could help. Let's regroup once you've had a chance to adjust the numbers and see if we can land on a sustainable plan that works for everyone. Just let me know when you're ready to talk again.
I will. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Talk soon.
So I'll just pause, and I might show like one or a little bit of one more person, but just to say, so the very first time that I developed the simulation, I stuck to Shelley's parameters, and they were very mean to me, I guess. So the first time when I said, oh, have you looked at because they can see, like the people can see your budget, and I have the budget displayed, as you can see, to the right-hand side on the graph. They can see what I did. And so when I first went here, Jordan was like, excuse me, that doesn't reach the margin. You go back and you like, he was mean. He like yelled at me the first couple of times I did this. And so I found it was I know these people aren't real, but when I was testing these, because I had to go through and test it over and over again to make sure everything was working and loading, I got so stressed out whenever I got to the phone calls because somebody was mad at me no matter what. When I finally did get this so that the budget was within margin, I had cut so many people. And you'll hear she's not happy with me, but she's not actually screaming. The first time it went through, the community health lead was like, you cut all the nurses? Why did you? In exactly that tone of voice. So I realized that for different purposes, you need to adjust the personas if you're using like an AI simulated person to fit your needs. I did talk to Shelley about my stressful experience, and she said, well, like because that's her career. She's like, I've been in these meetings. She said sometimes people actually really are like that. So our thought was in the future, we might be able to adjust like how difficult the humans in the scenario are as well. And I'll show you the next one if I can. I won't do the whole thing, but she isn't happy, but she's not mean. Hello, Maria. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I understand we need to be responsible with the budget, but I'm really concerned about cutting our entire community health worker team. They're the ones who build trust and keep patients out of the hospital, which will only cost us more if readmissions go up. Can we look at trimming from somewhere else? Maybe supplies instead of people?
I understand your concern. I could try to negotiate down the cost of our supplies instead of cutting down.
That's a great idea. Keeping our CHWs means we can really focus on preventative care and reduce readmissions. Now, what about transportation vouchers? Even a small amount would help make sure patients can get to their appointments on time.
I'll take a look at that in the budget and get back to you once I come up with a solution.
I really appreciate that. Ensuring patients can actually get here is such a critical part of our success. Thank you for considering this.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Take care.
Yeah, so she's a little nicer this time than she was some of my first passes. And so I did change it so that they'll offer you suggestions. So you can probably see there's a button that says edit budget right here. So you can go back, and the whole point is for the students to fine tune their budget based on advice from the other stakeholders and the priorities of the other stakeholders and taking them into account. And one of the main learning objectives is just, if you can meet the bottom line for the financials, that's one thing, but it sometimes is hard to balance that out with the needs of everybody else on your staff. And we're about 20 minutes in, so I'll wrap this up in just a second.
Hello, Jordan. How are you?
Wait a minute, that's not it. I want to end that show. Sorry, but and I don't want to, that's the thing, I don't really want to go through this too much, but you can probably see in the screen that there's also a Teams chat with the whole board. So that's the next stage of this process. After you hash everything out, there's an Easter egg I put in where if you talk to Samuel and you offer to balance the budget in a way he likes, he actually tries to go to bat for you politically. So he'll go find someone to give you some extra money if you hit the right things. So there's, it could be, and we did this very quickly because we were just trying to do something that would be more interesting than, again, just reading a book or something. And this, for me anyway, was very emotionally engaging. At the end, there's a plague incorporated. You get a score. You also get to see ratings from each of the people, negative, neutral, or positive, a vital score, and there's just a reflection assignment at the end. So I do want to go ahead and get off stage because I don't want to take up so much of the time. But thanks for letting me talk to you. It was just a really interesting experience with this, and also the interactivity builder, just to see how the AI incorporation can make education so much more engaging if we use it responsibly. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. So a quick thing that I do want to point out before Rich takes the stage here is in this interaction, it's not like a regular chatbot, right? They're not typing, like these are live voice interactions, if that wasn't obvious in the video. So this does feel like you're actually having a Zoom call with someone. And it's become popular enough, we've had enough faculty ask us that we're now building a system-based kind of thing like this, where people will be able to create their own. So instead of having to, do a custom thing, they'll be able to just go in there, use what we've built and kind of create their own simulations to provide for students. Which then brings me to the other thing, which is, I forgot to mention, we are the innovation application development team. We build apps, we build AI forward apps. So, and Aaron gave an example of a couple of them, and Mitch is going to. Things he's showing are more kind of a system level stuff, but still good examples and something that people may want to use even here. Yes. There you go.
All right. Do we have an online presence? Is someone managing that?
Yeah.
Yes,
Is that you, Jamie?
yes.
Cool. All right, let me know if anybody can't hear or something goes wrong. So I'm Mitch Kagi. I'm a solution consultant as of Saturday. So the first thing I'm going to show you is our student feedback system. We had an instructor from AHS come to us and say that she's been tasked with taking a 16-week course down to 8 weeks, and this course has a project with multiple writing milestones in it. And she's concerned that in that fast-paced nature, she's not going to be able to provide each student with specific individualistic feedback on that writing. So she asked, could AI help with that? So we started developing this system to kind of allow her to facilitate that. So from what you'll see here in the dashboard, there's rubrics, knowledge base, and assignments. So they all kind of work maybe the way that you're thinking they would. The rubrics is the way in which you would assess their final turned in assessment. So I can edit this rubric of, you give it a title, just a little description. We do have sharing and visibility because with this at the system level, maybe you want to share it with someone at your college, or you want to share it university wide, or maybe you say, "But out, it's mine. I'm not sharing it with anybody." You can control that. And the cool part is the specific AI evaluation persona instructions. This is where you tell the AI how to give that feedback to students. And we're making it clear to students, this is not a grade. This is just meant to help you as you tailor, your milestones towards that final submission. So you can either upload your rubric, paste your rubric, or use our little builder to build out your rubric. And once you're done with that, you just save and move on. Now, the AI will scour the internet. It will look for information it needs to help in assessing the writing. But if you have specific knowledge that you want to share with it that it considers before it touches the internet, you would upload that document or that text in the knowledge base. And really all that is just kind of an uploader to upload that document, and it's stored there. You don't have to worry about it really after that. The assignment is where you essentially take those pieces and put them together. So there's an assignment title, description, if it's a one-off or a multi-milestone project. You select the rubric you want, and then you also, if you have knowledge bases, you would add those and link them here. And then you can have a maximum number of attempts so students don't just do this 10, 15, 20 times, and every submission is 30 seconds apart. But what this looks like then from the student side, I don't want that. So they would fill out, actually they wouldn't fill this out because it'll pull from their SSO login. So they just have a drag and drop, or they can select a file. But I have a file somewhere that I pulled up here. So this is a bad example of a paper, and I really hope that the AI agrees that it's a bad example of a paper. Jesus. Here we go. Come on. That's not helpful. All right. So it's going to need to think for a minute as it kind of generates that assessment. But right now what it's going through is matching. It's looking at the rubric, it's checking for any knowledge base articles, and then it'll spit out a report of hopefully some helpful tips to the student of how they can improve their writing for this assignment. So since I've already done one attempt, this is a second attempt, and it's saying thank you for resubmitting. And then it kind of goes into looking at the rubric and kind of saying, well, if I had to give you a score, it'd be 3 out of 10. There's probably things you can do better. That's kind of what I was hoping for because I wanted it to have a bad paper to assess. So it gives some suggestions of how to move forward. This paper was on Star Wars, so if you see any Star Wars references, that's why. So yeah, it's saying keep your topic, change your lens, and it kind of gives some prompting, guiding questions on things they could kind of go into better detail about. The rubric was based on an analysis, so it is kind of probing them for more analytical kind of elements. That's really all that one does. It's pretty quick and easy there. I'm still working on a few things with that, but we'll switch over. This is first time ever, first time here today, showing a training system that we've begun developing recently. Right now, the only thing that's kind of ready to go and show is what we're calling standard trainings. So, if anyone's used, I guess, PowerPoint, Adobe Captivate, Articulate Storyline, they're not really friendly, they're not accessible. So we've made a web-based version that can be shared and hopefully integrated with Canvas and all those kind of things that we use. So again, Star Wars related. It's the thing I know a lot about, so it's what I usually make my demos of. But for a simple training, we have title slides, title and text, text and image, full image, video and text, full video, and then learning check. So it's really kind of the bare minimums that you would have in any kind of training. And then as you go through, we've tried making the editing as simple as possible, so you're not spending a lot of time figuring out where things go, how to do it. It does it for you. You input the information in the right fields, and it'll just appear. So it's fairly straightforward. And then we did tie it to assessments, so you can create an end of training assessment. It's somewhat similar to how Canvas sets up their quizzes. So you would go through that similar kind of thing of building your questions. We have some basic assessment settings of passing scores, question layout, if you want them all on one page or one question per page, random question order, or allow retakes until pass. So there's a few things there. And then we can preview. I'm not going to play the trailer, but you kind of have your typical training layout. You go through, hopefully the students get all the right answers because they're so smart. And then false. And then you get that training. Question 2 is random ordered, so they did switch that up. Yeah, passed. So the important thing for all of you is probably making sure those results look good. So you'll kind of get these metrics that you can look at and kind of see where, oh, question 1, did I word it weird? Was it just really hard? You can kind of see how the students were doing with, that quiz or the training in general. And then you can dive even deeper and see each submission and see how students kind of did better, did worse. And you can also view their answer results. Like I said, we hope to integrate this into Canvas so that it plays with that system, the grade center, so that you don't have to have separate trainings and separate quizzes. They would all just be one thing. So let me know if that's interesting to you, because it'd be great to have a client as we, maybe build this out more. But yeah, that was kind of a quick and dirty training system and feedback system. So I think I'm turning it over to Yuri to bring us home.
There's a question I saw from Bob.
Yeah, I have a quick question on the training system. Could you or the team, could you tout maybe the number 1 or number 1 and 2 things that this pipeline, this platform is achieving for you, or problems it's solving that those other systems and platforms are presenting as problems? So like if I think about, we hope to connect this to Canvas, what might somebody be doing in Canvas right now that's in a kind of a training vein that this would do better or than just using Canvas without this?
Canvas doesn't really have a training tool. Like you can finagle a quiz into a progressional training type thing, but it's not really meant for that. Like I mentioned earlier, things like Articulate Storyline, Captivate, they're not accessible outputs. This is fully accessible, so every student, no one has to worry about something not working right the way that it should. It is also zero cost. So where, we might pay a little bit to host it, it's free for campus to use. You don't have to go to the web store and pay $30 for a license every year to get the functionality that we've built out here.
And it stands alone too. It doesn't
Yep.
have to be in Canvas. It can be its own thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes the logistics of I need somebody to take a training thing,
Yep.
and I guess my best route to do that for free with Campus Tools is Canvas, so I'll shoehorn how to get it into Canvas to get it in front of people. This would have the opportunity to be outside of Canvas if needed. Okay. So
It has that right now because when you publish, you get a publish link and then you just pop that link in and go straight to the training. Since I'm already logged in, I didn't have to do the SSO, but this has all the, university login stuff. It's protected, so you don't have to worry about your data getting stolen unless the university gets hacked, and then it's a bigger problem.
Thank you.
But yeah.
So, how much time is left?
I don't know, 25 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Mitch. And, I think you've heard us talk about, SSO a lot. And that's because we want these to be ready for enterprise level things when, if needed. Along with that, there's a couple of things we've been working on that are even starting to use LDAP and other formats to grab course information, and tie them to instructors. So like you wouldn't even have to manually add classes. It'll just organize all of that. Let's see. So a couple of things that I was going to show real quick, and then I'd like to open it up to questions. Let me see if this. Here we go. There we are. Never really used a Mac before, so I got this just a little bit ago. All right, cool. So some of the other things that we've done that are also, not a chat bot, but using AI that are kind of interesting. This one here is what started it all. I made it for myself. It was a AI-based document converter because as being in charge of e-text, and we had a lot of Word documents that we were working with, I was sick of having to do a lot of things by hand. So I created something where AI will do it for me. Turned our turnaround time from weeks to hours, essentially. Was a game changer. And then people heard about it and said, well, wait a minute, can it do this? Can it do this? So now it's a universal document converter where you can upload almost anything, as you can see, PDF, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, HTML, and output HTML, PDF, Word, Canvas structures, e-text specific stuff, LaTeX, JSON. It just goes on and on. So it is essentially a universal converter. You can have it create interactive activities for you automatically based on what's in the text. It'll do styling, and you can choose whether you want it to have it in the head and all that. When you do choose PDF, it's not a perfect thing, but it does tag it. The design doesn't get maintained, but everything else does get tagged properly in an accessible format. So that's where it all started. This is actually available. I think if there's a chat or some group place, we can put some of our URLs in here for you all that for the things that are available to use. As of this moment, we can put those out there. I'll ask Jamie and Jim later. Another one that was early on was, and this is going to be a theme here, a replacement for Quizlet, because we had people that needed Quizlet type functions, but all of the cool things they wanted were part of the paid versions of Quizlet. So kind of shot off on my own, was like, well, they need this for another project, so why don't I just do it as a system instead of a one-off? And it does. So it's anonymous submissions, kind of like Quizlet is, but you can create all the questions for it. It'll actually, in the report, it'll give you some AI generated insights. You can even chat with the report depending on how many people have taken it. Excuse me. Yeah.
First of all, this is amazing. I don't know why you haven't shared it with me before. I was so excited.
But you've seen it, Tony.
But I haven't seen it in my class in action. And can you do if you create this, can you then get embed code to embed it in Canvas? Per quiz.
Yes, copy embed code?
I think so. I think that's exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so exactly. That's the whole idea is whether it's a link so you can have it full screen or an embed code that you can put it in there. This is what is running in the background of the Faculty Fluency AI Toolkit that Casey and all of us, Tony, you were part of that, created. So we had to, that was the problem.
Right.
Quizlet was failing.
That's what I was suggesting, and you guys said, but I haven't played with this
Yep.
yet.
So Quizlet was failing, so we used this instead.
Okay, we're gonna have to meet.
Yeah. We also, this is another simulator. I might run her real quickly because she's kind of funny. So this is for financial planning. It's teaching students how to be financial planners in an agricultural sense. And they wanted very specific things. They wanted some difficult situations for the students to be able to practice. So they came up with, this is Craig Lemoyne and Presley Fee. They came up with Lucy and had a whole case study that we put in to the system and gave her kind of a persona and also information of like things that she wants. I'll try to run a quick meeting here. Hi, Lucy. Thank you for coming in. What can I do for you today?
Well, thank y'all for having me. It's just, Lord have mercy. It's so overwhelming since Robert passed, bless his heart, only 2 months ago. I'm just looking for some guidance, Precious. No, are y'all fiduciaries? And how much is this fixing to cost me up front and over the year?
So essentially with Lucy, she has a lot of needs, and that's okay because there are people like that, and it was good practice, and it will, there's an assessment part afterwards where it kind of takes the things that you've said and gives you a little bit of a grade. That's not like graded grade, but like lets you know how you did, including your empathy towards Lucy, because that is important. And you know, she will fight back on certain things. Like if you say, hey, let's invest in gambling, alcohol, weapons, she'll just be like, I don't want to do that. And if you push hard enough, she'll fire you. So, so that is a thing. So yeah, so and the students, we did a presentation on a paper that we did with this, with our CITL data. That's not the data analytics team. It's what is Manny's group? I'm not sure what they are.
TLS.
No, the data people in there. So TLS data group,
Researchers.
educational researchers. Thank you. They worked with us on this, and we put together a paper, and it's like, it's been very effective. The students have loved it. There's been a couple tech hiccups. Thing to remember is all of this stuff is like the worst it's gonna be. You know, like all the technology just keeps getting better and better. So that's gone over really well. One other thing, I don't know if we have any people here that do work in linguistics. This is being used right now in I believe the linguistics department for student TAs, for TAs coming over that are wanting to practice for the language test to become TAs. So it lets them practice different things. So, and you can even choose different languages because we wanted to make it more flexible, essentially. So, like I'll say Russian because I can speak a little bit. Привет, мое имя Юра Буракович. Я люблю собаки, и я не знаю, что говорить. So you can hit stop. It'll go through, it'll analyze. And while it's doing that, something that's interesting is this AI is unique because it's not analyzing the text. It actually is analyzing the spectrograph, like the voice print. So, and that's something very interesting. So here we go. It did it out in Russian. It points out some words that I said incorrectly. And then it'll kind of give me a report that said, hey, you did this with an American retroflex R instead. Sabaki, well, long English E sound at the end. So it is targeting and lets you try it out, and you can keep working with this. And then it'll even give you flow and rhythm, and then your coach's recommendations. So to really help you kind of nail down your pronunciations. So, and again, you know, it's all behind the university SSO and stuff. So it's locked down. But so these are the things that we've been kind of working on. There's a lot more, but we can't show it yet. So really, if you all are interested, there is the CITL contact form that I'm sure has been shared many times. If you do it through there and just say that you're looking for an app that you want developed. Something for this group in particular that we talked about is as you work on something and get it to like a prototype stage, we can help you kind of get it across the finish line. That makes sense. Since we do have the servers available to us, all of the APIs, like all of that, we can work that together and help you get that across the line. So that is it. And we'll turn it over to questions if anybody has any. And if not, there's 15 minutes left. And we do have a question.
This is the first time I work in School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics, and it's the first time I've ever heard of this. I'm curious about what standards are applied for pronunciation, because, for example, just French, for example, spoken in, over 10 different countries, and every person who speaks French does not feel they have an accent.
Right.
So what's the standard for, so-called improving your accent?
So in that sense, we haven't gotten that deep into French because we have really wanted to stick with English. It's just, I didn't want to make a fake accent while saying English words, essentially. So that is something that we are working with others. I do have some, luckily, my wife has a PhD in French linguistics. So I've been working with her on that specifically. Then we got some contacts in the Spanish department, Italian, and we're going to try to grow that out. So this is kind of like a very much an alpha kind of place where we're testing the technology to see if it works.
I guess I'm interested because accents is like a political issue, right?
Right.
And
in many
yeah,
places,
yeah.
it sure is.
And
Yeah.
so people's accents, there was a time when accents, if you had a certain accent, it would indicate what region of the country you were from, and people might have, create ideas about you and so forth. So I'm just interested in what the standard that's applied here when you create this accent.
Yeah. And I think it's right now, they're going to be kind of like, I'm going to guess for French, it's like the Parisian standard.
Okay. Yeah.
Spanish, it's going to be Spain Spanish, not Mexican Spanish. Although I might be able, I think one of the choices might have been, let me see, I can't remember.
And right this second,
yeah.
we're beholden to, is this a Google platform?
It is.
AI platform. So, I mean, we're kind of beholden to what their tools can handle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But as we build it out, we can do more of those kind of standards. We can give it that information. So, so when you choose and say, the other thing though is it does pick up on how you're saying things. So we can identify, oh, even though you're speaking English, you're doing it with an Eastern European accent. And it will tell you that and kind of takes that into consideration. So we can build that out a little more to kind of acknowledge that, well, this is still correct. It's just a little bit of a different dialect or a different accent. So that would be the goal. And if you're interested in that, I'm happy to work.
Well,
with you
that
on
it just
thing.
gives me a lot of ideas. I'll
Oh, yeah.
talk about them later. So
Definitely.
We do have a question online.
Oh.
Can I sneak that in?
Okay.
Okay. Assassin, yeah. Mandy, do you want to come on and ask your questions?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi. So I'm a veterinary pathologist with the vet school. We're up here at Chicago at the Brookfield Zoo. So we're like a specific zoo path program. And I am interested in using some AI technology for medical records. Right now, we have a really hard time searching our medical records. There's limitations to things we can search. And it seems like AI would be an amazing tool to, have different ways of searching the medical records and pulling out information. So I didn't know, I was wondering if that's something like an app could be created to import. We have text files or PDF files, what AI software we can put these sensitive medical documents into.
So I want to make sure I get this right. So, but these are medical records, but for animals, not people.
Yes, but they still have very similar HIPAA laws.
They do. Okay. So that kind of does create a problem. I think there's only a few things that are like in terms of the U of I system. For HIPAA stuff, I guess it would be Copilot.
And I did share in chat down low if people want to look just for the agreements from campus to our other providers, AI providers, and then what level of data you can put in there just as reference.
Yep. So an app could be put together, but it would be limited in what platforms it would need to be on and which AIs it can use. I think honestly, it's kind of too big of a question to answer here. But I think it's a really good question. I think if you wanted to reach out, we can set up a time, and I can even bring in Jim Wentworth and Jamie in on this conversation.
I had sent some questions like this through the Gen AI website and did get some response. I'm not exactly, I'd have to pull up who it was from, but I'd be very interested in setting up a meeting to chat about it.
And just FYI, just from me looking at the page that I referenced, they're saying, or the campus is recommending no HIPAA data goes into AI.
Yep.
Just throwing that out. I don't know what the official.
I will say, from let's say an enterprise corporate level, what people have been doing on that front is they're essentially using their own AIs that are locked down in the building so that it is totally private and doesn't go out anywhere. But I'm not sure how doable that's going to be for you guys. So, but yeah, so if you do want to, you've shared the contact us stuff. Right,
yes,
Jamie?
yeah, at the top of chat, if anybody wants to look.
Perfect. So yeah, feel free to go in that form. It's probably different than the Gen AI one. And that should get routed out to us, and then we can set up a meeting and kind of discuss it further and see what we can do on that.
Okay, yeah, great. I previously worked at NC State, and they had this website that you could go to and like type in something, and it would pull it out of our medical, or like our LIMS system, medical record system. But that was like before AI. So yeah, I would be happy to chat more about it. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Question back there.
Oh, now I have two questions. One is I'm from the Speech and Hearing Science Department.
Yes.
And I do clinical work as well as teach. So the HIPAA question is always big in my head, and dealing with humans and children. That just seems probably, I don't even want to think about it. But this pronunciation is fascinating to me. Is next semester I will be teaching childhood speech sound disorders. Yes. We oftentimes have our clinicians do speech samples for these children developing. Is this something that could be used?
Yes.
And then I'm teaching phonetics
yes.
in the spring, and I think this is amazing. And could be so utilized. Are they able, when you do the speech sound, are they able to identify the different disorders and phonological processes you use? Because this is hours and hours of work.
Okay, so to an extent, and I can say that because my best bud is a middle school teacher in Bloomington.
Okay.
And I got him started on some of these things, and he's been very interested, and he's using the same model here to help their speech and language pathology department. And they've been kind of testing it out, and they have found it helpful in identifying certain things. So just from the experience, I can say, yeah, it actually is helpful in that realm. So yeah, so reach out. I'm happy to talk and see how we can leverage that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Yes.
Just bigger picture. What's the context for, so you all have expertise and resources, but I don't understand, who is this available to? When is it appropriate to reach out?
Always appropriate to reach out at any time, at any stage where you're at, even if it is, I have an idea or I have a need. Most of this project started with a need. Right now we're working with about 10 faculty and staff members at different colleges, some in CITL, AHS, ACES, a couple other places. And it's literally been I have this problem, or I want to do this thing for my students. Can you help us build this and host it so that, my students can get to it. So like when we use SSO means that anybody with an Illinois address can get to it, but no one outside of that. Now that we're locking things down even by course, we can say only people in this course can get to this. Let's say this simulation, only people in a course can do it. So it's the ones that we're saying are not available. It's because they're not done, you know. So once they are, it starts spreading out. A lot of times we've been starting with the client themselves in their college. That's the pilot. And then that goes well. We start spreading it out, and it can go to multiple colleges. And then there's that top level where the document converter is kind of in the running to be happening, where it's enterprise level, where anyone in the university system can get to it. Does that
We support different levels of
Yeah.
things. So one, it can be you come in and you learn how to use chatbot and you create your own chatbot.
Yep.
Yourself. Then you kind of move up to Yuri's team and again, as Yuri said, you can always talk. We're just starting out. You kind of heard references to, hey, I just became this day because this team is really just kind of getting going and we're figuring out how do we scale and how do we go forward. So feel free to reach out. We'll figure it out. And be honest, with you about where we are and what kind of projects.
So it's a newer team.
Oh yeah.
Because I could imagine there being some capacity limits
Yes.
at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So ask sooner than
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. I mean, like it's one of those things. Like right now, like I think if something's needed in the fall, if it's a small project, we can probably take it on. But if it's something big, we're already, have hit capacity. Hopefully we can bring on some more team members. That would be great. But, it's kind of been on me to figure out how much can we handle, which ones, can we have the faculty member kind of work a little bit on their own to get things, let us finish it off, and kind of that way. So right now, yeah, we can take on some, especially if it's something that we've already done a proof of concept for, then it's really easy for us to turn that around.
This is not intended to be like a chargeback service.
No. In terms of chargeback, the only thing I would say is if we're doing some really, really heavy AI stuff in the app, and we find that it's just super expensive, that the API costs, we may need to figure out some way to like share that cost, if that makes sense. Because there's a couple of applications that do get really expensive. Right now we're doing well. Like nothing's been going crazy, nothing's, $10,000, like nothing's been like that. I do see some situations where it can become that, and then we'd have to really think that through. Whether that's help from the college or help from the CIO's office or something, or even a grant, anything like that. That's really the only time we're going to worry about charging or cost or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And some of the stuff you've presented have been projects that somehow have been incorporated into, say, Canvas or the school system. In terms of scale, are you limited on the kind of ideas you would want to take on?
No, we're open to anything.
I could just say that also you don't know if it's okay. Sorry, you don't know how long this is going to take until you ask. So it could be something that's going to take a long time, but it could be something that won't take very long at all. Like if it's a simulation that's another persona or something, it might not take as long at all. So you're never going to know unless you reach out and we can chat through it.
And part of that is, because I knew this was going to be a small team to start with. We've been kind of creating workflows as we've been creating the projects. So if something is similar, it's really easy for us to just take a piece and plug it into different things. So that's helped us a lot in getting things out the door.
I was just going to add one of the roles that we try to fill and meet expectations of is playing a hub on campus. Mm-hmm. So I would say if it's difficult to justify as a teaching and learning centered project, we might not be able to contribute wholesale to it, but hopefully we can then connect into the other parts of campus that are best. So I'm thinking research. If it's more apt to be in the research arm of the university, hopefully by coming through here, we can get you on your way towards it taking root in those arms of the university where you would find more success because, okay, it's gonna die if it stays with us. So
Really good.
Yeah.
Luckily in this role, I've had the opportunity to be parts of a lot of different little groups on campus that kind of exist, like development task force and stuff. So, you know, if it is something outside of our scope or we can't take it on, I do have a list of people that I can go to see if that is something that they would take on, or some of these task forces, I guess. So, but it's always a great place to just start with us and have a chat, and you know, we'll try to get you to the right spot.
2 minutes past.
Yeah.
Wrap it. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you,
Thank
our
you.
presenters, for presenting. Thank you for.